So today I'd like to talk about this topic called Chikan. So I'm a cite Wikipedia right now. Wikipedia says Chikan is a Japanese term referring to sexual harassment or other obscene act conducted against the victim's will or a person who commits such an act. Usually, my friends would say what is Chikan is, for example, you're walking alone or you're walking with people and some random person touches you without consent. Especially in Japan, this thing, Chikan, is very common in trains because as you've seen the insane pictures of people just like crammed in trains in Japan, you don't really get a lot of personal space. So it's very common for people to just like sneak their hand, or sometimes the worst case what I heard is literally people masturbate on you or some people touch you. There's just different types of chikan, but this is something that's actually very common in Japan. This has actually been going on for a while. Like when my mom was in high school, she told me that yes, she did get chikan. So what she decided to do was she had to wake up an hour to an hour and a half earlier. So she would go on the train when there's no one, because for example, if you're on the train at like 6, like 5:30, 6:30 maybe a.m., there's not as much people, but from like 7:30 to 8:30, it's called rush hours in Japan. So it's easier for people to try to like touch you. But then also what I hate is, so people would be like, in order for you to not get harassed, try to get an earlier train. But then I'm thinking, why does the victim have to be like, okay, I'm going to get on the earlier train so that I don't get harassed, like it's not the victim's fault. It's always the person doing it, the person doing this act of chikan's fault. So that's one of the things I don't like, honestly. But also I feel like the other issue is when you want to report someone doing chikan, so sometimes the police won't even deal with you because of the lack of evidence. You just kind of have to, like in Japan they say nakineiri suru, but it kind of means you have to deal with it, I know so many stories of people who have tried to catch their chikan, but for example they just run away, or you tell the police, you try to call the police, but they tell you, sorry, if they're not in front of you at this moment, we can't do anything. When I visited Canada, when I visited Vancouver for the Women Deliver conference, what I found out is that in Canada, in the trains, they have this thing called like a yellow strip, like a yellow bar, where you can touch and then then you get assistance or like help right away. Or also, I just found the poster, which is very interesting. It literally says, you have the right to feel safe. You witness or experience any type of sexual assault or harassment, unwanted touching or gestures, please report it. Text the Metro Vancouver Transit Police at, and there's a number there. Or phone us at something. Or in an emergency, call 911. Like, I feel like this is what we have to do, but in Japan, yes, you do see posters. Like, some of the posters are kind of interesting. Like, it's like a anime poster with like sparkly eyes being like, we're gonna get you, but I think there needs to be more of a systematic change. The Ministry of Justice says that in 2014, there were 3,439 chikan activities, which includes chikan but everything like outside of the train. Still, that's about 10 people per day. But then according to the same statistics in 2014, it says there were 283 chikan that was noticed by the police that happened inside the train. You may think this is a lot, but for me, I feel like there's way more. Like, of course, it's still a lot. The fact that there's more than one is a problem. This number here, like, recognized is very low. Recently, this tech startup called QCCCA has started this ChikanRadar. What this does is people are able to, like, live report what happens to them. But the numbers here, about in 2014, 283, that is nonsense. Honestly, there is, like, sadly, but there are much more sexual assaults in Japan. Like, I feel like people don't realize that sexual violence and sexual assault is an issue in Japan because of the numbers. But I know so many people, like, the majority of the people who suffer from chikan don't report it because they feel like, oh, it's like, they just are like, it's me, like, I should deal with it, or I shouldn't cause problems, or they think if I cope with my own emotions, no one has to get hurt. But honestly, they are allowed to speak up, they are allowed to voice up about these issues because they've done nothing wrong. Right now, I just put ChikanRadar.QCCCA with QCCCA Oh, so basically you're allowed to report it. For example, you're allowed to say if it's chikan or if it's somebody stalking you, if it's somebody just like demonstrating their reproductive parts, or if someone's like filming, because that also happens a lot in Japan, like people are filming you, or just any like disturbing act, or if someone is like violent. You can put whether if you were the victim or if you've seen it, and you're also supposed to put what station you saw it. And this is apparently live, but I am pretty sure that Japan has more than 283 chikans per year. This is per year, right? Per year, because according to this number, there was 17 Roppongi Station, 14 in Shibuya, 11 in Ikebukuro. Like that's already like 50, 40. That's 42. Like I think just in general in Japan, it's a very interesting country. I think one of the big things is that yes, Japan is an island. So to a certain extent, yes, we are isolated. It's a very homogenous culture where it's very hard to be different. It's very hard to speak out or like act differently because people try to hammer you down. That is one of the biggest issues that's also affecting this problem with chikan. Because people are like, people first of all, people expect you to deal with it, or people sometimes even tell you things like, stop trying to brag, you're cute. That is literally a thing my friend was told. She told another friend that she was sexually harassed on the train, and other people told her, stop bragging that you're pretty. I don't even know why that happens. I just think that's a shit thing to say, and I just don't understand it. But also, because I feel like talking about sex is a taboo, it's making Japan into like a weirdly tolerant place for sexual violence or sexual assault. But I do believe that there's hope, because little by little people are voicing up. There are really entrepreneurs like Kyuka are providing solutions using technology and big data to combat this issue. You know, there are people being using their creativeness to try to raise more awareness. So I do believe that there is hope, but I still do believe that there's a long way to go. So like this, I'd like to talk about different issues from different parts of the world. Right now, I'm currently in Peru, in Trujillo, Peru, working for Educate For. So please follow my video or subscribe. So, hasta luego.